What's up, guys? The race is over and done with. I've just taken a shower. I am clean. I'm rested. I've eaten. Um, and I've had a lot of time to process the race and talk to Dee about it and kind of go through all the emotions and all the things that I was going through on the course. This was not a great race for me, but it was a really good day for me. I had a really fun time here in Lahti. They put on a great race, from the volunteers to the officials to the competitors, everyone around, awesome. Um, when it came to specifically my race, it wasn't what I wanted. Definitely nowhere near where I wanted to be, but this was a learning experience in more than one way. The biggest takeaway from all of this is just changing up habits and being more consistent. I have been successful in my last two races, and there are things that I've done well with that, but things I could do way better. And kind of just all I'll say about that. I don't like to talk about, this is why this happened and try to correlate the two, but your chances of doing well are better when you're consistent. And I hope that's a takeaway everyone takes home. It's something Dee and I talk about a ton, especially with our athletes. But that was the biggest thing, is consistency. The course is not an easy one, but I definitely recommend it to anybody who comes in and does like 70.3 Lahti or has the opportunity to do World Championships. It's absolutely a great experience. Traveling here is a little bit difficult, but not so difficult. It's not worth the experience. I would not know because I did not do any of the planning myself. That would be my better half, but I definitely recommend for anybody who does. The swim is very calm, at least today. There's sometimes some choppy waters, but today was beautiful. Water temp was about 68, 67 degrees, so actually really comfortable with a wetsuit. Actually went pretty well. For me, it was like a 43, 42, which I'm not a good swimmer. If you see me swim, you know I'm not a good swimmer. I'm not a bad swimmer, but I will definitely be exposed in a race like this. My goal right now is to be sub 40, and that's pretty solid. I'd really love to get down to 30, but today is not the day that was going to happen, and I knew that. But giving everything that kind of went on, I thought it was actually a pretty good swim. Technically, I was really good. I think I did better with spotting than I ever have. Just changing up some things with the way that I breathe and the way that I spot and the cadence in which I do that. It was really good. Got out of the water, unfortunately, towards the back of my age group and had a lot of people in front of me. Transition was not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought it'd be a lot longer. It was longer than I'd like, but definitely first time doing this. I can't complain. Had a little trouble getting on the bike. If you see these stories, you'll probably see me fiddling around trying to get on the pedal. It was really tough for some reason. I think the nerves of just the crowd being there too kind of threw me off. I don't know. It's just a bad day for getting on pedals too. But the bike started off maybe a little too aggressive. I kind of wanted to do this bike course in a way that proved that I could handle something a little bit more difficult in terms of the elevation and technicality. Now, this isn't an overly technical course. It's one big loop with not really a terrible amount of sharp turns, not like Augusta, but there is more rolling hills here. It's about 1,700 feet of elevation. Even though they say 1,200, if you look at the map, it's 1,700, which is not overly difficult either. And nothing's really steep. There's about 3% grade, but it's definitely a course where you need to be pretty strong in order to stay in aero. I had some moments where I got out of saddle. I think I was a little bit kind of excited to get out there and try to throw down with some cyclists. Usually with the way I swim, I'm in the back of the race with cyclists who are probably still pretty good, but I'm stronger. This is a race where everyone is pretty good. Everybody is going to be riding really hard and pretty quick. I'm sure the race times, the times on this course are pretty fast. You can definitely see from the pro field all the way to the top amateurs. I was actually riding pretty well. My first 30 miles I was really happy with. I was able to hit a speed that I thought, like, okay, this is tougher than I've done in a race so far, barring Blue Ridge, but Blue Ridge is my first race. I didn't know what I was doing. That was last year. This was a race where lots of rolling hills. You don't have a lot of time for flats, but there's also a lot of downhill, so you can kind of settle in and build some speed there. I wish I hadn't gotten out of the saddle as much. I had a little bit of back tightness, and that's kind of how I know I'm pushing too much. My back starts to get a little tight. When I'm good and in rhythm, I usually stay pretty comfortable. So that was one, just got out a little too aggressive. Two, I I lost my aero bar essentially. My left aero bar has been a little loose, and I thought it was good going into the race. I tested it out the other day, but I think it started raining and that loosened it up enough where it was actually super loose, maybe the vibrations on the road. So I actually lost my left aero, and I could feel it a little bit initially because it was tough to stay controlled in aero, and I'm usually pretty good, but it was a little wobbly, and then it just totally shifted back towards me. So it was a possibility of me like smacking my knee on it pretty hard if I had not seen it. I tried to move it back a couple times to see if I could at least like stay in aero, if I could just use my core a little bit more than I wanted to, but it wasn't staying. So I had to bail on that and get on my drops, which is not, I mean, it's a little bit of a loss in terms of your aerodynamics, but I mean, for me, aerodynamics, like that couple percentage points, yeah, that makes a difference, but it's not going to be a huge enough difference at me at this point. So not a huge sacrifice, and I definitely won't lean on that as why my bike didn't go the way I wanted to. Number 3, the thing that most affected me was it was raining pretty hard, and that's usually, I'm confident in the rain. I haven't really raced in the rain, but that wasn't really what got me. I was freezing cold, and we all had to battle it, but it's just cold enough here, so when you get wet, you are freezing on the bike. And if you've done a lot of riding outside and like even moderate temps like 50 or 60 degrees where it's really windy, you kind of know what I mean. It gets really cold as you pick up speed, and I was really shivering. Like, I had arm sleeves on, I had my tri-suit on, I thought I'd be good, and I was before it started raining, but I was just absolutely shivering, like my teeth chattering, my toes, my feet shaking if I didn't keep pedaling. So on downhills, it was even worse. I was like so cold, and I was losing my ability to like confidently control my bike. I had less dexterity than I'd like. So after about mile 30, things really started to get really tough for me. And again, we all had to battle that, but it just, I don't know why, if it's just because I'm in an area where in DC where it gets pretty hot, and I'm used to like being in the heat. I'm definitely like a hot weather kind of athlete, but I need to get better at being in the cold and suffering on the bike. I can do it on the run all day, but the bike, it was just a different story today, and it really got me. I went from about like a 22 mile per hour average down to 18, 17 miles an hour, just really struggling to keep up. And a couple things with that, probably loss of energy. I was burning more calories, shivering. I didn't get in my nutrition as I should have. And one is because I just didn't want to eat. I felt kind of nauseous. I don't know if that's a combination of everything. Probably some nerves too. This was a race where you are going to have a lot of people screaming downhill, and you have to be cognizant, because even if you were drift over a little bit to the left and you're still kind of in that right side of the road, people will breeze by and kind of give you a little bit of a check if you're not careful. So I had really aware of that, and maybe a combination of things. These are just things you learn and you get better with competing at a level like this with a lot of really good cyclists and a lot of really good athletes. So a couple things kind of made the bike tough, and it pretty much zapped me for the rest of the day. I had a really rough run today in terms of what I'm able to do. I just had nothing left in the tank, and it was more just like survival at that point. The run itself was great. I love the course here. It's a good bit of rolling courses, some good uphill, some nice downhill in the back half. Really just climbs from first half, back half's all down. You go through a track in Lahti, which is beautiful. They have the Jumbotron on. You can see people at the podium. There's fans in the stands. Great. But I was definitely suffering on the run. I had to walk at one point. Got a little dizzy. Again, just nutrition-wise, I didn't have enough in my body. So it's going to make me change a little bit maybe what I do with nutrition, going to maybe some more liquid form because it's easier for me to take in, especially if I'm feeling nauseous. The run was tough because, again, I was zapped and I had no drive through my hamstrings, my butt, my hip flexors are done. If you look at a race and you watch somebody who has no hip flexor drive anymore, it's usually the person who's going to get beat. And I was definitely that person today. A lot of thoughts in my head during the race of, why is this happening? Why am I biffing this so bad? I definitely was running angry for a little bit, the first half of it. And then I just kind of came to the realization you can't do that. You have to just enjoy what you're at right now and what you're doing. You can literally see a video of 2 different faces, me running by D, where I'm just furious of the way I'm feeling and what's happened. And the second half, I go take a moment to kind of reflect that I'm in an amazing place. I'm on a world championship race. I'm competing with a lot of great athletes. There are a lot of people cheering for me, me included. I can't really ask for more. So I kind of got out of that thought process. I did have to humble myself a little bit, realizing that this is just the day I'm going to have, and that's okay. I walked a little bit, got a little dizzy at one point, again, nutrition. I was able to pick up steam. I was really proud with a couple of my middle miles. After the walk, I was able to really get back, run some of the paces I'm used to running. Started to feel just like dead again, but I kept running through it all the way to the finish, and probably had my best finish line photo. So that was a huge plus. Nobody around me this time, so I didn't get blocked. It was great. All in all, again, this is a rough day, but one thing that I'm going to have to learn, and something that I'll struggle with, but I'll grow from, is that I always take losses too heavy. And if you take a loss heavy every single time, it's just going to build, and you'll never be able to perform at a high level because you'll quit before you ever do anything if you let everything mount on top of your shoulders and you put that much pressure on yourself. And I think we do that, at least Americans do that, because we see all these athletes who, like Michael Jordan or Patrick Mahomes, or athletes who really put this intense pressure to, if I get slighted, if this happens, I need to respond. I can't be happy. I have to lock myself in the dungeon. And that's great for some athletes, and that works. But we're not all those athletes, and we have to kind of find another way. And that doesn't work for me. I have to, instead of letting a burden build, I need to take pieces of what I did positively and look at the whole negatively and pull out what I can do better. And like I said, one is consistency. Two is changing nutrition up a little bit, and I think that's been a long time coming, but getting a little bit more specific with nutrition. I think three, preparing for the condition possibilities, because I thought it was going to be dry. I should have known a little better and maybe prepare a little better, and that could have saved me on the bike a little bit. Another is checking my bike to make sure that my arrows are good and that doesn't happen again. But sometimes mechanical things happen, and you just have to roll with the punches. But the biggest thing of all those is just the consistency and becoming a better athlete through just working every day. It doesn't have to be a Herculean effort. I don't need to make it a huge thing to get better by killing my body every day. I need to be consistent, and I have this goal of becoming a professional triathlete and running at a high level. That's not going to come overnight, and I think I need to understand that it may not come tomorrow, it may not come next year, it may not come 2 years from now, but I fully believe if I consistently put the work in, that I will get to that point. Even if it's I'm 40 and I'm professional, at least I can call myself that. I can be at that level. But that is what it takes. That's the time you have to serve to do this. And I think now I realize that more than ever, and I'm dedicated to putting in that work and making the changes to make that a possibility. So all in all, good day, rough race. We're going to enjoy Lahti. We're going to do a couple other things, but I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy to experience all of this, and I can't wait to make it back to my next Worlds for my next big race. Now I shift over to a marathon training where hopefully going to PR and put some good time, some good miles in running before I shift back into some heavy biking to make that a better aspect of my training, and some swimming as well. Thank you guys, and we'll have another recap for you soon.